Welcome, everyone, to another amazing Benzinga event. Today and tomorrow, we have Benzinga's Small Cap Healthcare Conference. 2 days. That's today, Wednesday, Thursday, tomorrow. And 2 tracks each day. We have something like, I was counting, we have over 50 publicly traded execs from 50 publicly traded companies that are going to be presenting today. Goals today and tomorrow, we want to get investors connected directly with some of these execs at healthcare companies, biotech, pharma companies, and we want to get you guys good information so you guys can make some good decisions. If you're already looking at an investment in one of these companies, awesome. We're going to get you executives direct today. You're going to be hearing about their companies. You're going to be hearing about their culture. You're going to be hearing about their prospects right from the execs. And we're also going to be doing some other fun stuff today. Couple housekeeping things before we get kicked off in just a few minutes here. We got a little treat coming up here in just a few moments to kick us off. But before we do that, I want to get a couple things out of the way. Let's take a quick look at the agenda. I'm going to look down at my computer. Thank you, Nicole. Nicole helping backstage. Let's click over to our agenda here. We're going to take a really quick look through the agenda, and I'm going to walk you guys through the agenda real quick, and then you're going to be like, wow, this is so much information. How do I process this? And I'm going to give you a couple tips on how I think you guys and gals can tune in today, and also how you can use some of this information. So I'm just going to do a really quick scroll through here. We have our blue track and our green track. I'm just going to scroll through really quick. Want you to take a look at some of the companies and try to start setting your sights on presentations you want to tune into. And also what I would recommend today is keep Benzinga's YouTube open in one of your tabs on your computer and just kind of pop in randomly. I know there are going to be prospects here, companies that you, ladies and gentlemen, are already looking at, and you're definitely going to want to tune into those. But also, let's get you some new ideas. Let's get you learning about a company that you didn't know you wanted to learn about. Get that on your watch list. You can watch it for a couple weeks, watch it for a few months, and see if you want to make an investment or a trade in it. And so I am encouraging everyone to look up at their screen here. I'm just kind of scrolling through. There's so many companies that I can't necessarily like highlight one or two. We are going to be having direct presentations from execs. It's just going to be an exec up there going over what the company does, their pipeline. We're going to be having some interviews. I'm going to be doing an interview later. We'll get some engagement going. We're also going to be having, as you can see here, a couple panels. This panel at 12:35 p.m. today, data and rapid COVID-19 diagnostics and treatments. We're going to be getting execs from 3 or 4 publicly traded companies that are going to be talking about, what the COVID pandemic has done for the healthcare industry. Keep scrolling through here today. Our programming goes from 9 a.m. right now until I believe about 5 p.m. I think our last presentation is at 4:40 p.m. And then tomorrow it's more of the same. A ton of executives from publicly traded companies, panels, interviews, and I actually believe the programming tomorrow goes till 5 p.m. So a little bit more even. And so let me just reiterate again here a couple of tips that I want to give. I want you guys and gals in the next, let's say 20 minutes here, to look through this agenda, jot down companies that you're already excited about, you've already been considering, and jot down the times that those execs are going to be presenting. And then again, keep the tab for Benzinga YouTube open and just pop it open at a random time. And you don't necessarily have to be, 100% engaged with the presentation if you're just kind of popping in. Open it up, keep it up in the background. Maybe while you're looking at some other trade ideas, open it up and see what some of these execs have to say. So that was day one that I really quickly scrolled through. We're going to have a whole nother agenda tomorrow, whole nother set of executives, exciting stuff to go over. And let me just take a look over here. I just was looking for another person that's going to be joining here in a second. Well, nice.
You talking about me?
Oh, Spence. What's up? Where are you at?
Dude, I relocated.
There he is.
I moved.
Oh, hey. Oh, you relocated. I get it.
I moved for you.
Nice. Yeah. So Spence, I have one more housekeeping thing, couple more housekeeping things that I wanted to go over. But
let's bring on our guest after that.
And then let's bring on our guest. So just wanted to say real quick, a little excitement here. I was a little excited for this. Normally for some of these events, we'll kind of like just roll right into the guest. Kind of exciting today here. Get to join Spence for a few minutes, and we're going to be welcoming on somebody in the investment community that is going to be speaking to us about the healthcare sector. Not something that we normally do at these events, but hey, why not start it off with a little more? I know we have a lot of audience members that are coming over from pre-market prep right now. Why don't we keep it going with some trade and investment talk?
Well, so here's the idea, right? This is an investment conference, right? And so let's talk to someone whose job it is to invest in healthcare companies, right? That would make sense, right? So let's bring on Mark Charest right now. He's the portfolio manager. There he is, portfolio manager of the Alphacentric LifeSci Healthcare Fund. He invests in healthcare companies for a living. Mark, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, Spencer, Brent, thanks for having me back, and morning to you both and the audience.
So let's just start with this. Explain to us how you think about healthcare biotech companies. As I said, you are a fund manager. It is your job to do due diligence and speak to executives and watch investor presentations and look into the pipelines. That's what you do for your research. So explain how you do that exactly and how you think about the space right now.
Yeah, no, sure thing, Spencer. So, we're a fundamental thesis-driven investor. All of us on our team are, trained in the sciences. I personally have a Ph.D. in chemistry and chemical biology, and, we spend a lot of time trying to understand the basic science behind, some of these disruptive innovators that we're meeting with, and, meet the companies, speak with the executive team, speak with the thought leaders in the space that are running the clinical trials and some of the folks that are doing the basic research. We think certainly life sciences and the biotech in particular is a great space where you can still do, roll up your sleeves, fundamental investing by, really understanding what the company is doing on the development side and then translating that into an investment thesis.
Do you have to have degrees in chemistry and physics and anything biology to be good at this, do you think?
I know a lot of fund managers that don't and have had quite a bit of success. I think that, certain areas become a little easier to invest in if you have, some background in the technical areas that the companies are working on. But, I think that there's so many companies out there, Spencer, and there's so many opportunities that I think that there's something for everyone if they look hard enough.
So where are some of those opportunities right now? What specific subsector, I don't know, treatment, disease, whatever you want to phrase it. What has your attention right now?
So one interesting thing that I don't know a lot of folks have really picked up on is that the number of publicly traded biotech companies has increased dramatically since pre-pandemic numbers. So we're up, depending upon how you do classification, it's up between 25 and 50%. That's an amazing expansion of the universe, and these companies have never been better capitalized. If you look at the past 18 months of capital markets activity, there's been more cash put onto balance sheets of these disruptive life sciences innovators than we've ever seen before. So there's a record number of companies, a record level of cash balances across these companies, a lot of great opportunities for investment, and at the same time, if you look at the performance of the the XBI, so that's the S&P Select Biotech Index, that's the equal weight index. It's down double digits year to date, and if you look under the hood at the individual components, 2/3 of the companies in the XBI are down year to date. So you've got this interesting scenario, Spence, where you've got a record number of companies, record cash balances, depressed performance year to date. There's a lot of individual companies that are mispriced relative to the fundamentals. I'll give one example. Look at Pfizer acquired Trillium a couple weeks ago for a 200% premium to prior day's close. There's 200% premium.
What was the ticker on that one?
TRIL, Trillium
TR,
Pharmaceuticals. Okay. They had a CD47 antibody targeting the SERP alpha axis. It's used for hematological malignancies and some other areas. But fantastic to see a 200% premium takeout. We haven't seen one of those in a while. We've seen quite a bit of M&A since. So I think the story here is large strategic acquirers are picking up assets that they view as trading below fundamental value.
Gotcha. So I want to, Spence kind of asked you a little bit, and I want to press you here. So give us some, specific sectors within biotech, within pharma, within healthcare that investors should be looking at right now.
So I think that there's some really interesting opportunities in precision oncology companies. These are companies that are developing, really precise molecularly targeted therapies to treat certain subsets of cancer patients. There's a quite a number of companies in this space. Trillium, I would say, was in this category. The one was just acquired. And there's quite a number that have pulled back recently with some interesting data updates. I'll call out a couple just now for folks to look at. One is Mersana Therapeutics. MRSA is the ticker there. They have an antibody drug conjugate that they're developing in some really late line refractory patients that showed some interesting data. Stock sold off hard on the update, which was interesting. Same thing with a company called TCR Square. TCRR is the ticker for that one. They had a data update a couple weeks ago. Stock is now trading at cash levels, and they have an active drug, and we've spoken to a few thought leaders on that one, and I think it's been pretty. People are scratching their heads about some of the stock reaction relative to the data update, but those are a couple examples of small cap companies that are presented active data, traded up hard, maybe worth taking a look at.
Mark, going back to the Pfizer Trillium thing for a second. So you think the massive premium was not so much related to Pfizer or Trillium. It's more of a sector-wide thing that we're going to start seeing a lot more of, just companies being taken over at large premiums.
So it was a large premium to the close price, but if you look at the trading range of the stock, it was actually below the peak of the stock at the end of last year.
Okay.
And the interesting thing there is that Trillium had given some data updates incrementally from the end of last year, where the stock was at peak, to until right before it was taken out, and the fundamentals were intact or were better. They were as good or better when it was taken out. It was all market beta that drew that stock down, which is pretty amazing. Your stock can go down in our sector. You can see things down 50+% with little change to the fundamentals of the data. Now, we see that as an opportunity for active managers like ourselves, and certainly Pfizer saw that as an opportunity to be able to acquire the company. Because if they would have done the same approach, a year before when it was trading at those levels, the board would have had to rejected that offer. But when you're offering 200% premium, I think the board of directors is obliged to be a fiduciary of the shareholders, and it's hard for them to say no.
So let's talk a little bit about, and I think you just hinted at a few here, Mark, but I want to talk about innovation in the space. Obviously, a lot of these companies are looking to be very innovative here, but I mean, is there a few names specifically, a few candidate treatments, a few diseases that are being treated that you think these companies are like really innovating in the space? We know that with the COVID pandemic, we know the mRNA vaccine was some kind of technology innovation. Is there any other examples that you have like that in the space right now?
Oh, for sure. There's many. So one area we like to focus in on is autoimmune and inflammatory disorders. And we think there's a number of new mechanisms that are coming along. This company Celldex Therapeutics is developing a kit antibody for a number of different mast cell driven diseases. They had some initial data in urticaria that looked pretty exciting, and the stock has responded well. We think things like that. There's a number of others in that sort of group. Developing new mechanisms for autoimmune inflammatory indications that are interesting. I think that we're fans of a lot of the bigger technologies that are emerging. So gene editing,
Sure,
has gotten a lot of press. We think a lot of those stocks have run ahead of where the proof points are. There's a few companies that haven't even treated a patient yet that are trading at almost $10 million market caps. It's hard to do math up there. So we think those areas are really exciting, and we have participated in investments in some of those areas, but we just caution folks to be a little careful when when it's $10 billion, no patient data. You got to be a little careful up there.
I just want to say, I as soon as Brent asked that question, I messaged him. I said, Mark's going to say CRISPR, which you did. So I pat myself on the back for that one. And also, our next question was going to be about valuations, which you already just kind of.
Are you in our chat with us, Mark?
Yeah.
And we don't know about it?
That's weird.
You're getting ahead of us here. Yeah. So I mean, can you speak to valuations in the space right now? Are they generally more expensive? Are they generally less inexpensive? What do you think about overall valuations right now?
I don't know that I've seen quite this level of extreme bifurcation in valuation. So as we're sort of chatting about, there's some pockets of our sector that are, that have achieved extreme valuation levels. I mean, Spencer, last time we talked about valuation of Moderna, I mean, hard to do math there. We'll see how that goes. Put that one aside. But, look at the gene editing space. I mean, a lot of those companies are trading at, pretty healthy valuations. But at the same time, there's a lot of companies that are trading at or below cash. There's actually one right now. I've never seen this before. A Galapagos Therapeutics, GLPG is the ticker. This thing has, if you look at it in US dollars, almost $6 billion on their balance sheet. The market cap's a little more than three. That's more than negative $2 billion enterprise value. It's an extraordinary discount cash. For sure, the company's had some pipeline setbacks, and there's, the CEO is now being forced out. You can imagine you're trading at, negative 2 point, something billion dollar enterprise value. I've never seen that before to that level with a company of this size. So there's some real extremes. There's the haves and the have-nots, and the haves have, are priced, very generously, and I would say beyond full valuations. And the have-nots are, a lot of them are trading like they're already bankrupt. So, we see it as a great opportunity to pick stocks in this environment where, you have this level of skew, which again, I think is, I've been doing this for, more than 15 years, and I don't think I've ever seen this level of skew before.
Gotcha, Mark. So I want to pull back a little bit here. We have a lot of audience members out there who I'm sure are very well versed in pharma and biotech and the FDA, but also we have a lot of new people that are looking into this sector. So I want to ask about like kind of some basic education, Mark, for investors that are just looking to start making a call on some of these pharma biotech names, seeing if they want to get them into their portfolio. Do you have any tips for like some basic education? What are like some good ways that people can get good information about, what's a phase 1 trial and what's an investigational new drug application? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I always encourage folks that they want to learn about companies is to read the SEC filings, read the latest 10K and go through the, the corporate overview section. And in there, the company is going to lay out its development plans, its progress, what they've said publicly about correspondence with the FDA. I think, Brent, one of the challenges for our space, in biotech development in particular, is that depending upon the indication, the drug development path can be very different. So,
Sure.
getting something approved for a late line refractory oncology patient population is very different than getting something approved for a cardiovascular disease that affects, 50 million people that are going to be treated chronically for a long period of time, right? If you got
Sure.
6 months to live, your tolerance for risk is very different than someone who, maybe you have elevated lipids or something, but otherwise you have a normal, lifespan outlook. So it's very heterogeneous, and the heterogeneity leads to opportunity, but it also makes it difficult to really understand the differences between the different development programs. And that's why, I try to guide folks to, it takes a lot of time to go through these things, particularly because the number of companies, again, is up to record levels. There's 500 to 700, biotech companies discretely traded now. And so to read that many 10Ks, I mean, that's hard to do. But I would encourage folks to try to find a few thematic areas you find interesting, and then pick the the 5 most well-known companies you can identify in that space and read all their 10Ks, and you'll come away from that with a much better understanding of how the companies are positioned.
Great advice.
I've got to hop and go over to our other track, our track 2, our green track today. So I'm going to leave you with this, Mark. What is your outlook for just the last quarter of the year in terms of just the overall healthcare sector? You can get more specific with biotech or not, but just what is your outlook for the rest of the year? And that's my last question. I'm going to hop, but I'll be listening to your answer.
Later, Spence.
Yeah, appreciate that, Spence. Look, we're constructive. We think we're going to see more M&A. We think that there's too many depressed valuations. We think that there's some really exciting innovations ongoing here, and some of the large acquirers in the space have a strategic initiative to grow through acquisition. So there's no question in our minds we're going to see a little bit more of that. And we also think there's going to be some positive clinical and regulatory developments between now and the back half of the year. Some big medical meetings coming up. The American Society of Hematology meeting is the big one in the fourth quarter, and there's a couple others that we're probably going to see some good data updates. So we're expecting to see good data and a build up for a big January at the JP Morgan conference, which is the healthcare conference that kicks off the year. So we think between now and then we're going to see quite a bit of good news in our sector, and we hope those fundamentals will drive some outperformance.
Awesome, Mark. That was a really good kind of like concluding question by Spence. So thank you, Spence. Mark, thanks for joining us, man. Founding partner of LifeSci Fund Management, and you are also a portfolio manager for the Alphacentric LifeSci Healthcare Fund. Thanks a bunch, Mark. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Brent. Good to be with you this morning.